I still remember the day my app hit 200 million in revenue. I had built SecureShare from nothing, poured every ounce of my soul into those lines of code. TechVault promised me the world when I joined, but promises are just words until they are kept. They never imagined I would design a kill switch deep within my own creation. I guess when you betray the architect, you should expect the building to have a few secret passages. If you have ever been betrayed by the very place that promised to value you, drop a comment below and tell me where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button before we dive into how I turned the tables on a multi-million-dollar tech giant with just one click. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Chicago, surrounded by books about computers instead of sports equipment. My parents worked hard to provide for us, but technology was my true passion from the moment I first touched a keyboard. While other kids were playing outside, I was inside writing my first lines of code on an old computer my dad salvaged from his office. That passion never died, leading me through a computer science degree at a respected university in the Midwest. After graduation, I bounced between a few smaller tech firms, learning the industry and honing my skills. I was good at what I did, but I wanted more than just a comfortable job writing code for someone else. I wanted to build something that mattered, something that would change how people interacted with technology. That ambition is what led me to the interview at TechVault 3 years ago. Walking into their gleaming headquarters in downtown San Francisco was intimidating. Everything about the place screamed success, from the minimalist lobby with its floating staircases to the open concept workspaces filled with the brightest minds in tech. The interview process was grueling: 6 rounds of technical questions, problem solving, and cultural fit assessments. By the final round, I was mentally exhausted but exhilarated. David Thompson, the CEO himself, conducted my last interview. He spoke passionately about how TechVault was different from other tech giants, how they valued innovation and the people behind it. I believed every word. When they offered me the position with a salary nearly double what I was making, I accepted without hesitation. My first day at TechVault was where I met Alex Winters, the product director, who would become both my mentor and closest friend at the company. Alex was brilliant, charismatic, and seemed genuinely interested in my ideas. We clicked immediately, staying late at the office, discussing the future of data security and privacy. It was Alex who first suggested I lead the development of a new secure data sharing platform that the company had been conceptualizing. For the first few months, everything was perfect. I assembled a small but talented team, and we started brainstorming what would eventually become SecureShare. The breakthrough came during a late-night coding session. I'd been grappling with how to create a truly secure file-sharing system that was still intuitive for everyday users. The solution came to me around 3 a.m., a completely new encryption protocol that would change everything. I rushed into the office the next morning, barely able to contain my excitement as I explained the concept to Alex. His eyes lit up immediately. He understood the potential. Within hours, I was presenting the idea to David and the executive team. The room buzzed with excitement as they realized what this could mean for TechVault. The next 18 months were the most intense of my life. I worked 16-hour days, sometimes sleeping on the couch in my office. My relationship with my girlfriend Samantha suffered and eventually ended because I was never present, always buried in code. But I believed it would all be worth it. David had personally promised me that if SecureShare succeeded, I would receive not just a substantial bonus, but also equity in the company recognition as the creator and leadership of the division moving forward. When we launched the beta version of SecureShare, the response was beyond our wildest expectations. Users raved about the intuitive interface combined with military-grade security. Within weeks, we had a waiting list of companies wanting to integrate our platform into their systems. The tech media started to take notice, publishing glowing reviews about the revolutionary approach to data security. In those early days of success, I felt invincible. My team celebrated each milestone, and I was called into executive meetings to discuss the future of the product. During one particularly successful quarter, David pulled me aside and told me I had created something special, something that would change the company forever. I believed him. Why would I not? The shift happened so subtly at first that I almost missed it. 3 months after our full launch, I noticed I was being invited to fewer strategy meetings. When I asked Alex about it, he brushed it off as administrative oversight, but his eyes didn't meet mine when he said it. Small decisions about SecureShare began to be made without my input. The marketing team changed key messaging points without consulting me. Features were being prioritized based on criteria I was not privy to. Then Jackson Reynolds arrived. As the new vice president of product strategy, he was technically my superior, though he reported directly to David. From our first interaction, something felt off about Jackson. He had come from one of our competitors with a reputation for aggressive business tactics and had no technical background whatsoever. In our first one-on-one meeting, he spent more time talking about market share and monetization than understanding how the technology actually worked. Jackson began to insert himself between me and the rest of the executive team. Reports that had previously gone directly to David now had to pass through Jackson first. He began to criticize aspects of SecureShare in ways that made it clear he did not understand the underlying technology. In meetings, he would cut me off or redirect the conversation when I tried to explain technical considerations. More concerning was how Jackson began to bring in his own people. 3 new developers joined my team without any consultation. They were talented enough, but their priorities seemed misaligned with the vision I had for SecureShare. They pushed for features that would make the platform more monetizable, but would compromise the user experience I had carefully crafted. As SecureShare continued to gain traction in the market, I found myself increasingly isolated within the company I had helped transform. The final investor presentation before our next funding round was scheduled, and I assumed I would be leading the technical portion as I had in the past. The day before, Alex informed me that Jackson would be handling the entire presentation. When I protested, Alex avoided eye contact and said it came from David directly. That night I stayed late at the office trying to make sense of what was happening. Most of the staff had gone home and the building was quiet. I needed to email some documentation to one of my team members, and when I opened my email, I noticed a message that had been mistakenly copied to me. It was a conversation between Jackson and David discussing the need to reduce our dependency on me as the sole authority on SecureShare. The phrase that caught my eye was Jackson writing, "We need to distribute Lane's knowledge across the team so we are not held hostage by a single developer." I sat in stunned silence, reading and rereading that line. Held hostage. Is that how they viewed my contribution? The email continued with discussions about how to extract my knowledge of the system before making further organizational changes. They were planning to push me out once they had what they needed from me. That night I made a decision that would ultimately save me. I knew the codebase better than anyone else, understood its architecture down to the most minute details. Over the next week, working late nights when the office was empty, I built what I called my insurance policy, a sophisticated kill switch, buried so deep in the system that no code review would ever find it. It was not malicious in design. It would not destroy data or harm users. It would simply make certain core functions of SecureShare inoperable until a specific reset sequence was initiated, a sequence only I knew. I told no one about this. Not my team, not Alex, not even my new girlfriend Megan, who I had started dating a few months earlier. The kill switch was my silent guardian, a protection against the betrayal I sensed was coming. At the time, I felt a mixture of guilt and justification. Was I being paranoid? Was this unethical? But something in my gut told me to protect myself, and I have never regretted listening to that instinct. 6 months after Jackson joined TechVault, SecureShare hit a major milestone: $100 million in revenue. The company organized a lavish celebration at an exclusive venue in downtown San Francisco. I learned about it through social media, seeing photos of David Jackson and the executive team popping champagne and making toasts. I had not received an invitation. The next day I confronted Alex about the party. For the first time, he seemed genuinely uncomfortable with the situation. He mumbled something about a miscommunication with the event planners and promised it would not happen again. But the damage was done. I was the creator of the product everyone was celebrating, yet somehow not important enough to include in the celebration. When the quarterly bonuses were announced, I received a sum that, while substantial by normal standards, was a fraction of what others on the executive team received. According to the company Grapevine, Jackson had received a bonus nearly 4 times the size of mine. The justification given was that he had spearheaded the go-to-market strategy that had made SecureShare such a success, conveniently ignoring the fact that there would be no product to market without my innovation. My suspicions about being pushed out grew stronger when I accidentally discovered a document left in a conference room after a meeting I was not invited to. It detailed plans to establish a new development center in Bangalore, India, with job descriptions that mirrored my team's roles almost exactly. They were creating a shadow team, one that could potentially replace us. Jessica Parker, a product manager who had been with me since the beginning of SecureShare, confirmed my fears. During a private lunch off campus, she revealed that Jackson had been holding meetings with select members of my team, questioning them extensively about the architecture and underlying systems of SecureShare. They were creating documentation of everything I had built, cataloging my knowledge without my involvement. The most damning evidence came when I discovered that TechVault had engaged an external law firm specializing in intellectual property. Through a connection in the legal department who still respected my contribution to the company, I learned they were exploring how the employment contracts signed by early employees, including me, gave TechVault exclusive ownership of all innovations created during employment. They were specifically building a case around SecureShare, ensuring that legally I had no claim to what I had created. I could no longer ignore what was happening. I scheduled a meeting with Jackson and David to discuss my concerns directly. Jackson arrived alone, claiming David had been called to an emergency investor meeting. The conversation quickly turned hostile. When I brought up the promises made about equity and recognition, Jackson laughed dismissively. Those conversations were aspirational, not contractual, he said. Your employment agreement clearly states that all intellectual property belongs to TechVault. You have been compensated fairly for your work as an employee. When I pushed back, mentioning the specific promises David had made, Jackson's demeanor changed. His voice lowered as he leaned across the table. Listen carefully, Lane. You are a talented developer, but you are just one developer. SecureShare is a TechVault product, not a Lane Morris product. If you continue pushing this narrative, we will have to reconsider your future with the company. The threat was clear. I left that meeting knowing that the company I had helped build, the people I thought were my allies, had turned against me. But nothing prepared me for the betrayal that came next. After weeks of Jackson isolating me, I discovered that my access to certain parts of the SecureShare codebase had been restricted. As the original architect, I now needed approval to modify core components of my own creation. I was then reassigned to a minor project unrelated to SecureShare, a clear demotion designed to sideline me. But the final blow came when I learned through Jessica that Alex, my mentor and friend, the person who had championed me from the beginning, was actively helping Jackson document the system to make my position redundant. He had been playing both sides all along, maintaining our friendship while secretly participating in my professional execution. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I arrived at the office to find an unusual tension in the air. People averted their eyes as I walked to my desk. My keycard, which normally granted me access to the entire engineering floor, only worked on the main entrance. When I sat down at my computer, my credentials had been revoked. Before I could process what was happening, Tara from Human Resources appeared at my desk with 2 security guards. Her face was a mask of professional detachment as she asked me to come with her to a meeting. In the small conference room, Jackson was waiting with another HR representative and someone from legal. The security guards remained outside the door, visible through the glass walls, a clear message about how this meeting would end. Lane, Tara began. We have evidence that you have violated several clauses of your employment contract and TechVault's intellectual property policies. She slid a folder across the table, containing printed copies of code, some of which I recognized as sections of SecureShare. According to her, I had attempted to steal proprietary code, an accusation so absurd it momentarily left me speechless. The code samples they showed me were from authorized work I had done, taken out of context to support their narrative. When I tried to explain, Jackson interrupted, stating that the decision had already been made. My employment was terminated, effective immediately. What followed was a humiliating procession through the office. The security guards escorted me while I carried a box of personal belongings. Colleagues I had worked alongside for years watched in silence, some with confusion, others with pity, and a few with what looked like satisfaction. Jackson walked behind, making sure everyone saw what happens to those who cross TechVault. At the exit, they inspected every item in my box, confiscated my company laptop and phone, and had me sign a stack of documents under duress. The final insult came when one of the guards asked for my office keycard, which they had already deactivated. It was not about security, it was about power and humiliation. The true extent of their plan became clear in the days that followed. I discovered my bank account had been frozen due to an alleged internal investigation by TechVault, claiming potential financial impropriety on my part, completely fabricated, but enough for the bank to temporarily restrict access to my close funds. A certified letter arrived from TechVault's legal team, reminding me of the non-disclosure agreement I had signed and explicitly threatening litigation if I spoke to anyone about SecureShare or my time at the company. They claimed I had already breached confidentiality, though they provided no evidence of this supposed violation. Through an old college friend who worked at the patent office, I learned that TechVault had filed multiple patents for technologies I had developed for SecureShare. My name was not listed on any of them. They were systematically erasing my contribution from the official record, claiming my innovations as their own. Then came the moment that changed everything. An email from Alex appeared in my personal account, sent from a non-TechVault address. The subject line read simply, "I am sorry." In it, Alex confessed that he had been pressured by David and Jackson to help push me out. He revealed their full plan once they had completely documented the SecureShare system and transferred knowledge to the new team in India. They planned to pursue legal action against me for alleged violations of my contract designed to prevent me from working for competitors or discussing my contributions publicly. Alex also revealed something I had not known. SecureShare had just crossed $200 million in revenue, and TechVault was preparing for an initial public offering largely on the strength of SecureShare's market position. Financial analysts were projecting a multi-billion-dollar valuation, and the executive team stood to make fortunes from stock options that I had been promised but never received. Reading that email sitting alone in my apartment, with my career in ruins and my greatest achievement stolen from me, something inside me hardened. They had taken everything from me, believing I would slink away in defeat. They did not know about my kill switch. They did not know I still had one card left to play. The kill switch was designed to be undetectable and untraceable. On a new laptop purchased with cash and connected through multiple VPNs, I initiated the sequence. It was not dramatic, just a few lines of code sent through an obscure administrative channel that I had built into the system. To anyone monitoring it would look like routine maintenance. They would never see it coming. I did not destroy SecureShare. I did not delete data or compromise user security. That would have hurt innocent clients who relied on the platform. Instead, I triggered a cascade of subtle malfunctions, timed random outages, and performance degradation that would become progressively worse. The system would not fail catastrophically. It would die the death of 1,000 cuts, each small enough to seem like a normal technical glitch, but together rendering the platform unusable without a complete overhaul. Within 24 hours, the first reports appeared on tech news sites. SecureShare, experiencing unexplained downtime. TechVault technical teams working to resolve issues. Nothing alarming yet, just the kind of routine problems any platform might experience. But I knew what was coming. 3 days later, major clients began reporting significant issues with file transfers and encryption validation. The TechVault stock price, which had been climbing steadily in anticipation of the IPO, began to waver. Analyst reports questioned whether the company had scaled too quickly without adequate infrastructure. A week into the controlled failure, TechVault issued a press release, announcing a temporary suspension of new client onboarding for SecureShare, while they addressed technical challenges. The stock dropped 15% in a single day. Jackson appeared on a technology news program, looking haggard and defensive, as he assured viewers that the issues were minor and would be resolved quickly. I watched it all unfold from a distance, feeling a complex mixture of satisfaction and regret. I had created SecureShare to help people securely share information, and now it was failing. But the company had left me no choice. They had stolen my work, erased my contribution, and threatened my future. This was the only leverage I had left. While TechVault scrambled to fix problems they could not understand, I executed the second part of my plan. I had meticulously documented everything, saving emails, recording conversations when legal in California, and keeping detailed notes of every interaction. I compiled a comprehensive dossier of how TechVault had systematically pushed me out and stolen credit for my work. I sent this information to 3 sources, simultaneously. A prominent technology journalist, known for exposing corporate malfeasance, a well-respected tech industry blog, with a large following, and directly to several of TechVault's largest investors. I included the evidence of patent applications filed without my name emails discussing how to extract my knowledge before removing me, and financial projections, showing how the company had built its entire future on my innovation while giving me nothing. The story broke like a tsunami across the tech world. TechVault accused of intellectual property theft by SecureShare creator. The timing could not have been worse for them, with the platform experiencing mysterious technical issues and the IPO looming. Investors began asking uncomfortable questions. Partners and clients started reconsidering their relationships with a company accused of such unethical behavior. 2 weeks after I activated the kill switch, my phone rang with a number I recognized immediately. David Thompson, CEO of TechVault, was calling me directly. His voice lacked its usual confidence as he suggested we meet to discuss a resolution. I agreed, but on my terms, a neutral location, my lawyer present, and a clear acknowledgement that we were there to recognize my contribution to SecureShare and make things right. The meeting took place at my lawyer's office in downtown San Francisco. David came alone without Jackson or the legal team, a sign that this was not an ambush, but a genuine attempt at reconciliation. He looked older than when I had last seen him, the stress of the past weeks evident in the new lines on his face. Lane, he began, we have clearly made some serious mistakes in how we handled your role in SecureShare. I want to personally apologize for that. I then laid out my terms: full recognition as the primary creator of SecureShare, fair financial compensation, including the equity I was promised, Jackson's removal from any role involving SecureShare, and a public statement acknowledging my contribution. In return, I would help them resolve the technical issues plaguing the platform. David did not hesitate. He agreed to everything, adding that the board had already decided to delay the IPO until the situation was resolved properly. We spent the next 4 hours hammering out the details with our respective legal teams joining remotely. By the end of the day, I had a signed agreement that gave me everything I had asked for and more. The weeks following the agreement were a period of healing and recalibration. TechVault issued a public statement acknowledging me as the primary creator and architect of SecureShare, apologizing for the oversight in previous communications. Jackson Reynolds was reassigned to a different division and later left the company entirely. A substantial financial settlement was deposited into my account, along with documentation of my equity stake in the company. Most surprisingly, David offered me the opportunity to return to TechVault as Chief Innovation Officer with complete autonomy over SecureShare and future projects. It was a tempting offer, a vindication of everything I had fought for. But I declined. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt. The trust was gone, and I knew I would never feel secure there again, no matter what title or compensation they offered. Instead, I used part of my settlement to found my own company, Security First, focused on developing advanced encryption tools for individual privacy. I brought Jessica and 2 other trusted former colleagues with me, people who had stood by me during the darkest days at TechVault. We started small with a clear mission and values that put innovation and integrity above rapid growth and profit. Alex reached out several times seeking forgiveness and offering to join my new venture. I met with him once over coffee at a small cafe, far from any tech offices. He explained the pressure he had been under, how Jackson had threatened his position if he did not cooperate. I listened, acknowledged his apology, but did not invite him to join Security First. Some betrayals cut too deep for complete reconciliation. The experience transformed me in ways I never expected. Before, I had been naive about the business side of technology, believing that great innovation would always be recognized and rewarded fairly. Now I understood that creation and credit are often separated by politics, power, and greed. I became more careful with my ideas, more strategic about how I shared them, and more insistent on proper recognition and protection. In building my new company, I created a culture that was the antithesis of what TechVault had become. Every employee receives equity from day one. All patents list every contributor regardless of their role or rank. Decisions are made transparently with input from those who will be affected. We grow more slowly than we could, but we grow with integrity. 3 years have passed since those tumultuous days. Security First is now a respected player in the privacy technology space, smaller than TechVault, but known for innovation and ethical business practices. SecureShare continues to exist, though it never fully recovered its market dominance after the technical issues and public relations disaster. TechVault eventually had its IPO at a valuation significantly lower than originally projected. I sometimes reflect on whether I made the right choices. Was building the kill switch ethical? Should I have found another way to fight for recognition? But then I remember the feeling of watching security guards escort me out of a building where I had created $200 million of value. And I know I did what was necessary to protect myself in a situation where all the power was stacked against me. The most valuable lesson I learned is that true success is not measured in revenue or valuations, but in creating something meaningful while maintaining your integrity. Technology can change the world, but only if the people behind it remember their humanity. The code we write reflects our values, both in its function and in how we choose to share it with the world. If you have ever had to stand up for yourself against powerful forces, I would love to hear your story in the comments below. How did you protect what was rightfully yours? Did you find a way to turn adversity into opportunity? Subscribe to my channel for more real experiences from the tech world, and hit that like button if this story resonated with you. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that sometimes the underdog can win with the right preparation and principles. Thank you for listening, and remember, in the world of technology and business, always build your own kill switch. Not to destroy, but to protect what matters most, your dignity and your creative legacy.